My uncle was one of the first five that first started the rodeo back in '43 because they went to, meaning Bud Saunders, Roy Router, Herald, Schwab, the other two.
Claire.
I don't think so. I think it was like Percy Driggs, maybe.
Maybe Forbes.
Forbes
Forbes
Driggs, yeah.
Driggs, yeah.
And then there was one other guy. Anyway, they went down to Pasco to a rodeo. Coming back, they all stopped under some unnamed shade tree downtown and said, let's just put on a rodeo because we can put on a better one than we just came back from. The first stock contractors was Osborne and Hanson. Must have been like the Osbornes up north.
Sure.
Warren Osborne.
Warren and then probably Tubb had some of his cattle and so forth.
Yeah, well, the horses and stuff that are running out there on.
Yeah.
I don't think Tubb claimed them to be his that much, but they ran on property that he had leased.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so probably right out there with his cattle at the same time.
Yeah,
But
that's
then on
kind
my
of what I
notes here, I
thought.
got
The
the cattle
horses
is-
came right off the prairie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just
Wild horses.
wild
Yeah.
horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Then in my notes I got, and I must have got it from an old program or something, that the cattle meaning the steers and the,
Yeah.
and the calves,
Calves.
were supplied by Harold Schwab and John Jingling.
Huh.
So they were, Jinglings was dryland farmers out east of town, east of Wheeler out there.
if they got a horse that bucked, they were lucky. I mean, most of the horses at that time, you'd throw the shoe strap on them and they'd probably come out of there running as fast as they could go, and you're lucky to get a horse that would buck at that point in time.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of them would just throw fits, just be jumping around rather than.
inside trying to get out of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was a rodeo in itself.
Yeah.
Just getting these horses with the saddle on them and
It was like $5 for the entry fee. Herald put up $2,000 for the first rodeo, and Bud Saunders put up $3,000 for the purse. So they had $5,000 for the purse.
wow.
That's more good.
Well, in that ledger,
For the bareback riding?
in
For
that
the
ledger,
whole rodeo.
Oh, yeah.
in that ledger, it says, loan from Harold Schwab, $2,000, loan from Bud Saunders, $3,000. And then after the rodeo was over, paid back loan, Harold
Yeah,
Schwab,
yeah.
$2,000, paid back loan, but
Yeah, actually he made enough to.
Yeah.
just they had to have enough to get the rodeo running. Larry's uncle Harold, who was our first president, also was a competitor, a contestant in the rodeo. And I'm not sure what rodeo, if it was the first one or at one rodeo early on, he came off a bareback horse wrong and broke his collarbone.
Mhm.
And I think he was, as I say, he was a sitting president of the association. And he never left the rodeo arena that day. Dr. Darrell Larson set his shoulder and wrapped him up, and he stayed right there for the whole rodeo. And I mean, talk about tough guys.
He also bought that horse that he fell off of, that broke his shoulder.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know
And
that.
it was a big sorrel horse, and they called him Moses.
Early on, and Paul, early on, this was not a rodeo town. People didn't turn out, but now it has become a rodeo town, and our rodeo, like Paul said, is the biggest thing that goes on in this town in a year's time, and that's due to a lot of hard work by these guys and other guys that that aren't here, but we have made this a rodeo town. We host a business after hours, which didn't used to have a business after hours in August because of the fair and rodeo, but we started hosting one. It's the biggest one every year. So early on in the early 60s, we decided we wanted to build a new rodeo arena, which is the one where we have the rodeo now.
Okay.
And in order to do that, we had to create more income than what the rodeo normally did. So we decided we needed to hire a celebrity. And who they decided on was Dan Blocker, the guy that played Hoss Cartwright.
Yep.
And he came, and it was in the old rodeo grounds. It was not very big and not nearly as well put together as one we have now. But he came, and he was just a tremendous hit. And the people came; they were hanging out of the rafters. It was a real joy. In fact, my dad called that rodeo arena. He called it the house that Haas built.
How funny.
Yeah. And then the next year we had little Joe, who was not near as
He had Haas 2 years, didn't he?
no, just one,
Uh,
just one.
well, I'm not sure. I think, are you sure? Because
Yeah.
I thought we had, maybe he came back a second time
Yeah, I think he did.
later on. I'm not
Yeah,
sure, but I
I
swear I think he was
I
there
think he was
twice.
there for 2 years in a row, and then
Yeah.
little Joe came,
And then you
and
brought in,
he didn't make the
well,
biggest impression.
Anyway, my dad used to say the little Joe was as bad as Haas was good, and he wasn't bad. He still drew people, but he just wasn't as easy to get along with and crowd pleasing as Haas was.
was a Hollywood cowboy.
Yeah. And then we had you know, Rex Allen and Sons of Pioneers, and there was
Barbara Mandrell,
Barbara Mandrell. Huh?
yeah, she
Mhm.
came.
I liked her a lot.
I can remember when we used to go out and round up the horses.
Do you?
Yeah, I was.
How did you do that? Were you on horseback yourself?
I wasn't on horseback. I was in one of the Jeeps,
Okay.
and Jeeps
Yeah.
and the horses are actually what they used mainly for. They didn't have the four-wheelers and stuff at that point in time, but I can remember I rode with Tub, and he'd just gotten this new Jeep, and this was about 53, I think, something like that. I could be off a little bit there, but I think it was a new Jeep in about 53. And he took that thing out and broke
And
the,
where did
broke
you
the
go
frame,
get 'em?
broke, I mean, just going after these horses, you know, no roads or anything. You're flying. In fact, we flew so far there one time, we lost the passenger seat out of it. totally come out of the thing. And between the Jeeps and the horseback. And then in the final year, that's when Time Magazine actually came, and they were flying airplanes. They had people on the ground, they had people in the air.
To watch you round them up?
Yeah, they came in right at the final leg of the roundup there, when we pretty well got all the horses rounded up. And they were actually spotting for us out there earlier in the day there to help us find the horses.
I remember Art Opper, my father-in-law, which was one of the founder members, said, I think that they said that they swam him across the lake and then up the hill, and then put him in a corral on top of the hill up on Airway Drive someplace, near the,
Where would that be? They come across the lake where?
well, probably down in the north end of May Valley and come up that big hill there someplace.
Yeah.
Or maybe they swam across there at Cascade Valley and,
Yeah,
Come
I'm
across
guessing
that
the
way?
logical place would be to take them
Yeah.
across the Cascade
Yeah.
Valley right at the
Yeah.
point there, you know. But,
'cause they remember that when they finally brought him to town, they had a big potluck thing there, you know. All the wives and everybody else would put together this dinner for the arrival of the horses, and when they got them all corralled up, then they
yeah.
finished the dinner. So that very well may have what it was. Of course, Moses Lake wasn't as deep and as high as it is now, so.
Well,
'Cause they didn't di-
horses can swim.
Yeah, but they didn't didn't have a big dam, you know, back then.
Right,
Of course, that was, I think the last of the roundups was 55, I think.
We were talking about our financing, and we were having a lot of problems with financing. And I said, Bob, what's the future here, you know? And he says, Mick, he says, I don't think we have a future. He says, I think we're about tapped it as low as we can go. He says, I'll be surprised if we have a rodeo in the next few years here.
And what year was that?
Oh, that had to be about the time that I joined in. And God, do you have any idea what year that would have been?
69 probably, right in there.
Somewhere in
Don't
the
have to be-
somewhere in the late '60s, I
Okay.
suppose, late '60s.
Yep.
And that's
So it almost died then, huh?
it. Almost died then. And Dave Hussey and myself, which was a member, we went to the Tri-Cities and looked at a demo derby down there. and they were putting on a very successful demo derby.
Oh.
And so we went down and talked to them and talked to them about maybe bringing some of their cars up to Moses Lake here so we could have at least a minimal turnout of cars. And they agreed that they'd come up and help us put on our first demo derby. The old hardcore rodeo people.
Yeah.
They were not in favor of a demo derby at all. We're not going to get no demo derby, and you know it was.
Eddie Lorick.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we had a hard time selling it, but after we
hear 'em
finally
right
got it, then we got competition between us and the Tri-Cities going, and then we had sellout crowds, and we've had sellout crowds basically.
Every year.
Maybe not total 100% of sellout, but we've had sellout crowds and that saved the rodeo at that point in time, and of course it's still.
The first time that I was exposed to the sport of rodeo, we had horses and rode horses since we were born.
Yeah.
When we were kids, and we used to gymkhana and play and stuff like that. But back in I can't remember the exact years. It would have been like 1968. They had what they called the mad scramble right at the beginning of the rodeo. And what they did is they loaded the chutes with horses and bulls, and so they hired all the local kids, give us $10 a piece to ride that stock out of the chutes, and they opened all the gates at once. So all 12 horses and bulls came out in the arena
Bulls
at
went
once.
in the rodeo,
Mhm. There was half bulls and half horses, and so they threw open all the gates, and that's why they called it the mad scramble, because whoever made it the longest was the most fearless guy, because the other guys were fearing for their lives, because once you get off, you could have got run over.
Yeah.
I remember just as a little kid walking up that intersection by the library there, the Five Corners,
Yeah.
walking up Five Corners there in a gravel road going up the hill there, and the fairgrounds just located up in that.
Oh, is it just like a bunch of tents, or not even that?
Just shabby buildings,
Yeah.
you know, just tar paper shacks.
Yeah. We're having
Well,
Jessica Blair and what's your first name? McDonald. They've been here before, like 3 years ago. And they're trick riders and schooled horses. To where Jessica rides a pair of gray horses without any bridles on them, Roman style. And then McDonald, she's a trick rider too, and she performs at the NFR
Oh.
last 10 years. They had a special event on Saturday night at the rodeo. They call it the Saturday Night Bath.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And 5 or 6 guys on horseback would run down to this big horse watering trough, jump off the horse. They had to hold on to one rein, strip down to their swimming suits, jump in that trough. It was a big, 12-foot diameter water trough. Get back out, put their pants back on and their boots back on, get back on their horse and run back in. So
This is not letting that horse run off.
Yeah,
I'm sure he
yeah,
was real
yeah,
thrilled to be there.
yeah. And the trophy was a porcelain gal in a bathtub. I still have that.
Rodney, we had one cowboy here that is Dave Hussey's dad. And he competed here at the Moses Lake, but he also went on clear to the Madison Square Garden and took
Wow.
his place there.
Is he still here?
No, he's not
Yeah.
no longer alive, but
That's something.
Was that Shirley?
Shirley Hussey.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, he
That's
went,
pretty
he went all the way to Madison Square, and Dave Hussey still got the saddle that he won, and so he kept that pretty proud of it all these
Sure.
years.
Well, thanks, fellas. Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Good to see you. Thanks for the stories.
It's nice to meet you,
I
Ron.
do appreciate it.